Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got Ronnie Harrell.
And in the house, I had 10 pounds of weed. I didn't smoke it. I put a little bit in my freezer at home. Friends come over to go in the backyard, smoke it, whatever. And then that was just there just to keep going back to, right? So they had that, and they had a Mac 10 in a box that I had. And I'm cuffed. I'm from California. I'm really sweating this stuff. So the DEA agent looks at me. He goes, "Hey, you're worried about that?" And he kicks it to his partner down the driveway and goes, "That's the least of your worries." They already had that meth, And so I never heard about that again. That weed disappeared, that gun disappeared, And they told me, they said, "Look, man, you can thank your brother-in-law in Hawaii because you were all the way under the radar."
Was there any sense that they were watching you or anything like that during your time doing this?
There should have been. There was a sense, and I didn't pay attention to it. And that was the thing, right? I ignored that sense I had because they had made a call to my number saying they were late with a delivery, right? And I never give nobody my number. So I called the house with my packagers and I say, "Hey, when you did this FedEx thing, did you leave my number?" And one of them says, "Yeah, I did." But I would have never listened to that. I would have never called and asked them or nothing. I would have cleaned house and shut down right then if I was in my right state of mind.
If
but
you did shut it down right then, you would have skated through. Impossible.
No, because the thing about doing that and getting away with it like that is that you think you can always beat them. You reach a point in life to where you realize the game is really stacked against you. No matter what you're doing there, you are going to lose, and they're going to come take it all back, and it's all going to be for nothing. They're going to leave you with pictures, a memory, and a good story to tell on Bill Stacks.
Yeah.
That's what you got, man. And it's just reality. You're looking at it from forward on. It looks like a good deal and a great proposition, right? It's one you can't refuse. But when you start looking at it behind you, nothing was worth it, except for it brought me to the position I'm in now, and I wouldn't have been here in life, and I feel I'm in a pretty good spot because of my history.
So we're not recommending anyone try to do this at home.
No.
It's not a good idea.
None of it's a good idea, You know what the good idea is? Get a fucking job, buy a house, have a home, get married, have kids, live life, ignore the government, ignore politics, ignore gangs and all of that right there, and do the next right thing. So when you got to make a decision about something, if it ain't the next right thing, well, then don't do it. And don't start changing the definition of what right means.
Yeah, moving the goalposts.
Yeah. And, look, so I'm in penitentiaries, and I'm going down in levels, and I'm on the do good thing, and I'm trying to straighten out. I think I'm doing a pretty good job, and I'm writing these programs. And I'm sitting in Soledad Central. I'm in the dog program. And I have this dog that my wife got into me. It's a Dogo Argentina. She's out in the backyard right now. She's too ornery to put in here right now on this thing, or she'll chew shit up. But I have it. And I'm training her here and there, but Dogos are hard to train. They're strong will. And I start these programs. I write the Veterans Life Skills program. And I got it in play. It's going. I got everybody backing me. The warden's talking about it. I get given a whole building. All right. They give me an office with a computer, and I'm running the program in there. I get up in the morning, I go in there every day, I go in the office, TV, computer, all that. I'm running the program. I got all these guys in the unit doing their thing, and they're doing my program. I start writing a book. So I write the Encyclopedia of Self-Help. And it starts with denial management, co-occurring disorders, works you all the way through addiction recovery, everything. It's all there. Domestic abuse, and it's the curriculum for the program. And I got sergeants back at me. And what happens is the sergeant calls me in there and he says, "Ronnie," he goes, "Look, man, can you see through that right there? It's like the phone is ringing and somebody's calling."
I'm can't see it.
I'm going to hang them up real quick and hope they get over it. Okay. Right. So here's what happens. So the sergeant calls me and he says, "Ronnie, here's the deal." He goes, "There's sex offenders on this yard." I told him I try to mind my own business. Paying attention to them ain't going to get me home. He goes, "Well, here's the thing. You can't shoot them down in your program." He goes, "As a matter of fact, I'm not happy with that." He goes, "I need you to write a curriculum like you did right there to deal with these dudes." And I'm like, man. They seen what I did my whole terms, you know. I was smashing them dudes out, doing rude, crude, and socially unacceptable things to them. So I had to go back and I had to think about it, you know, and I thought, you know what? How many of these guys, so if you're not killing them, they're getting out with a chip on their shoulder, and you're probably doing the opposite of what you're trying to do. You're pushing them into doing that shit again,
Yeah.
you know? So if I write this program, hard hitting, designed to make these dudes had to face what they did, because I wouldn't be nice about it if I did it, right? And maybe I stop one or two of them instead of encouraging them to get out with a chip on their shoulder. Maybe one or two of them gets out and leaves the kid alone because of something I wrote. So I tell him, yeah, man, Sergeant Dyer. I tell him I'll freaking write it, but I'm going to get somebody else to go interview these cats because I can't. So in the middle of it, I'm getting this thumb drive to move stuff from my computer to the office to print stuff out. And I see stuff on there from this one named Randy. He's a sick dude. And he's communicating with some deal in Florida. And his whole thing in there was that he didn't want to change what he did. He didn't want to be a better person. He didn't want any of that. What he wanted to do was change how people see that crime. Yeah, so I kind of went off on him, but I stumbled into something worse than that. Started to realize that the whole yard was filled with these sickos, right? This Sergeant Dyer, one day, while I'm in the office printing something out, he gives this dude this chip. His name's Mark Wade, sicko out of Riverside. I eventually ran him. So I go by one day and I see what that chip had on it because he's got it on his tablet. And to make a long story short, I stumble onto there's a child pornography ring going on this CTF North Yard veterans program, right? And my program's good and it's doing good, but I just stumbled onto this big old thing. There's cops involved. There's all of this Sergeant Dyer, and he's dead now, thankfully so. But this Sergeant Dyer, he's trying to set it up where he takes this sicko Mark Wade out to go to other prisons on the name of the veterans program and trying to speak to people about it, right? But the reality, what they're doing is trying to get this sicko Mark Wade hours on the streets to do whatever sick thing they're doing, right? And I'm like, man, so I mentioned it to somebody on the streets. They mentioned it to somebody else, and this happens to be a mother of some kids. And she nuts up. She nuts up, and she does what a straight person would do. She turns the whole thing in, right? Well, this woman named Jenny Nestler, that's part of the veterans program, she teams up with all these sex offenders. And she gets with them. And then there's this Ron Self. She gets with them and tells me that one day Ron Self has went on to a thing in Berkeley and said that you plagiarized your book. I go, check this out. My book's copywritten with the Library of Congress. So that's the bigger copyright deal. And that's the get down. So, but I was mad. I said, this little dude slandered me. So they manipulated me a little bit. She did. And I started to go after Self. It turned out all to be BS, right? They were trying to redirect me. Meanwhile, her and these sex offenders are working out a plan. And Sergeant Dyer. So they pretty much put a bogus charge on me, said that they heard me threatening a free person, which I would imagine was her, right? First, she sends the dog lady to me, and the dog lady says, hey, because they tried to go after Self, right? And they tried to take Ron Self's program from him, and he's a free guy, tried to shut him down, tried to, smut him up and take everything from him, and there were sexual harassment charges and all that. Well, I was privy to her saying she was going to do this, so I did a statement for Ron Self and the veterans to help him, at least just doing the right thing. It wasn't true on him. So now they did the same thing to me, and I'm in the hole. So I'm slammed in the hole. I'm investigating Sergeant Dyer. It turns out his brother is the chief of police for like San Jose or something, and he just got off of a sex with a minor charge. And it's just that whole get down right there. It's just as sick as it comes.
But Sergeant Dyer is the one that wanted you to write the program, right?
Right. And he's in on the whole ring. He's the one wanting to bring this Mark Wade dude out of Riverside, who's a real sicko and still there doing things. And so when they get me put in the hole, they transfer me to New Folsom. Well, I'm all right. Look, bottom line is I'm going to rise to the top. It don't matter where I'm at. But so I don't stop. I continue with the programming. And I end up beating all the charges. Okay. So I ended up beating all the charges. Sergeant Dyer dies. They tried to take my program, but you know what? They couldn't run the program. So now the program gets shut down in Soledad. And I just got word today they did the same thing to somebody else. So what they're doing is if the program gets up and running and it's good, they do this and then they file for grant money. Like Jenny did this. Ron Self got a $4.1 million contract, grant for the veterans on that yard. And he was going to put all these good things in place. Well, this woman, Jenny, eventually took that, got control of his whole thing, took that from him. He barely got his program back. She got control of that money. And basically they spent it on their friends as staff. And those veterans never got what they wanted. So they knocked my program down a little bit. I mean, it was knocked down. I'm building it back up right now. I'm in Stockton right now. I'm getting ready to go to Donovan. It's going to be fired back up in Soledad, but on a different yard with a better class of losers. Right. But the thing I'm running into is the funding. And so here I am. I'm like, you know what? I got a lot of stories. I was a really messed up individual before I started to try to do the right thing and help some people. I'm a living example that there's no such thing as not being able to change. There's no throwaway human beings. Everybody's capable of becoming something productive. And that's what my program's all about. I'm building it back up now, but I don't have the funding. So I'm doing these things and I'm on here. I'm saying, let me plug my program. Let me ask these people that see it, because you know what? People that watch this, they're infatuated. Maybe you got $1. Maybe you got $10. Maybe you got whatever. You can go on the site. If you don't have a credit card, I can give my address. They can mail it there, just $1 bill. All of that adds up. I'm able to buy these books, get these programs in, and move on. And at least, and here's the thing. Maybe you say, you know what? These cats don't deserve a second chance. To hell with that. Okay, then don't do it for them. Because you got to remember that everybody that gets out and does another crime creates another victim. And you have to ask yourself, does that victim deserve that? If I can do something about it right now, and I don't, am I contributing to the delinquency of their bullshit? I can change one dude that doesn't get out and hurt one woman who can no longer relate to her kids the same. Well, you're making a big difference. So every nickel helps. And that's where I'm at.
Did you ever write that program for them or no?
For them? I did. I wrote the program. I got it in here somewhere. It was called Unbound. Okay. And I did end up, I wrote, that's what they tried to steal that too. They wanted that. They may have stole that. I don't know, because that's what they do. It was on the computer when I went to the hole. I just finished it. And it was hard hitting. It wasn't, you don't get to go in there and, I'm going to fake my way through and be a freak and a weirdo and get a chrono and get out and do all that. No, No, in that self-help course, I took these creeps back to the very moment. Because at some point in their life, they made a decision to move forward with what they were going to do. Up to that point, they were making decisions not to. So I want to go back to that moment and look at everything around them and figure out what contributed to that messed up decision.